Welcome back to Pillar of Salt. With us, as always, we have our two esteemed cohorts, Ryan and George. Take a bow, gentlemen.
I'm George.
And I'm the other one.
We can't just do the same voice. That confuse people.
Okay, well, you know.
I'm George. I'm the middle one.
And I'm the one that isn't allowed to copy George's voice anymore.
And as always, I'm Mike. As a side note, unfortunately, we were just contacted by Mr. Hideo Kojima's people. He won't be able to show up here today.
Oh, what?
He's finishing some anticipated hat DLC for Death Stranding.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to be able to make an appearance.
Yeah, he was supposed to come on the show and talk about the new hat DLC.
Mm-hmm. Frankly, he played us like a damn fiddle.
Truly a shame.
All right.
So what's on the docket today, guys?
Well, today is, I believe it's the 1st of March, and you know what that means, boys. That means it is the same month as the month that Animal Crossing begins to exist in real life.
Oh, dude. And Kerbal Space Program 2?
No, the other one was Doom. That's the other big release. Is Kerbal Space Program 2 coming out this month?
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, my God.
I didn't know it was coming out that soon.
And Mountain
all other months
Blade
don't matter.
2, apparently? Did you say it was out?
I think, well, we had it on our list for like March 1st, and so...
I've been excited about that one.
I don't know.
Forever.
I guess it's possible it's later than that. I don't know.
I don't know. If it's out, though, I'm going to buy it.
All right.
Have you guys seen all these little jokes of, like, Isabelle and Doom Guy just being best friends now, like having tea together?
Of course. Those are great.
Of course.
Two very different games, and so people don't feel the need to kill each other over them.
Well, I just think it's really interesting that, like, the ongoing headcanon is that Isabelle just has a thing for really burly military men.
I think it's more that Isabelle also wants to just kill demons.
Well, but she had the ongoing thing with Snake, and now she has the ongoing thing with Doom Guy. It's just, I feel like she's establishing a type.
I don't know. I maybe.
She likes bad boys.
Caring quality and compassion. Yeah. Oh, man. That was a great meme. That was fantastic. I'm very excited for Animal Crossing. I also want to play Doom Eternal. I just before this stream, Ryan got me a copy of the original Doom, which I haven't played yet. It's from 2016. I guess not the original.
Yeah, definitely not the original Doom.
Yeah, what looks so good about Doom Eternal then?
Just a lot of the stuff I've heard about it. It's a fast-paced first-person shooter that just is. It's just a first-person shooter on I don't know my drugs, on whatever drug would make it 10 times crazier.
Have you seen the rebooted lore for the Doom Guy in these new games?
No, I haven't.
So in the old Doom, you just happened to be a space marine stationed like at a military base on one of Mars's moons. Now the Doom Guy is like an immortal being that has been summoned forth to like punish the wicked demons. Like he's like in Guar or something.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I'm excited to play them. I hear they're very good. I hear they're like top of the line as far as first-person shooters go.
I'm excited to play it for free on Steam sharing. Hey.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to Animal Crossing. I'm a very big fan of Animal Crossing. It's like one of my favorite Nintendo series. And so this, like, I think 7-year gap since the last one has been killing me. I loved Happy Home Designer. Amiibo Festival is the one that like nobody played, and Pocket Camp is poo poo. But yeah, Happy Home Designer was amazing. It's super underrated. Underrated. Like,
are these?
I actually know a lot of people that are really into Pocket Camp.
Yeah, I do too. It's I mean, I don't blame them. There's a lot of cute things about it, but I couldn't get over like the grindiness of it. It didn't feel as much like Animal Crossing to me.
Uh-huh.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, Animal Crossing has a little bit of grindiness, but it's not the same.
It never feels like a grind. I mean, we could do a whole thing talking about that, but just like when the game is designed with monetization in mind as its primary goal, there's no possible way it's going to be able to stand up with a game that's designed with fun and comfiness as its primary goal.
Exactly. And that definitely shown through a lot of cases where I'm just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to afford these limited time items unless I legitimately spend the next like week playing this game nonstop, and I don't want to because I don't find it fun.
And so, George, are you saying that Pocket Camp was almost a really good game, but there was one small thing that got in the way of stopping it from being better?
Ooh, our topic of the day. There it is. It's seamless.
It was before you ripped the seam apart with your bare hands.
I had to look inside and confirm for myself.
Go ahead, Mike.
You talking about furries?
No, what
Wait.
gave you that idea?
Wait, we're talking about animals in my pocket?
No.
What?
You've missed I think half the words, but not even the first half or the second half, just random words scattered throughout.
You think the people are tuning in to learn about your furry convention?
See, I feel like you're still not listening to the words I'm saying.
Oh, something about games not being good?
Yes, today's topic is about games that are bad. Games that maybe bad seems a little harsh, but games that could have been very good if not for one issue, in our opinions.
Yeah, so last week we were talking about, or I was talking about, the game Hearthstone. And just, we won't rehash it too much, but it has a lot that's going for it that's really good. But the major complaint that so many people have with the game is the staleness of the ladder. And it's because people have such a hard time getting cards, and there's no elements to let people try out cards and experiment without committing a ton of resources, like years worth of resources sometimes, to test out something in earnest. And so it ends up with a really stale ladder experience, and it hurts. It hurts a lot more than I think the company realizes. And so, things like that, like one element that has a really sour effect on the rest of the game.
One way that if just adjusted a little bit, the game could have been marvelous. Anybody want to start with one?
Now I understand.
Here, why don't you guys?
I'm gonna throw up an easy one that I think everyone would just immediately think of as
No, that's in my head.
Any multiplayer game that has a matchmaking system.
The problem is always the matchmaking system.
every single time where you've played 1,000 rounds of this fucking game, and they're like, "Here, you should play this guy. He is level 2." And now you just gotta ask random things of this person throughout the game, and they have no idea what the hell you're talking about, or probably have never even thought of doing this. And all it ever does is make people fucking fight.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting in online games. I've noticed that.
What a unique observation, right there.
People kind of hate each other, don't they?
I think it. I mean, I don't think it. It's because the more distant you can be from somebody, the more you just don't empathize with them. You don't feel the need to treat them like a human being because you don't see them as one.
Yeah, exactly. You always see as text.
Yeah, definitely.
But so
I'm not looking at either of you guys right now, so it's very easy for me to dehumanize the both of you and wish you were dead.
Oh.
Well, you're gonna say how to fix such a conundrum.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so because the issue is you have I was watching a pretty good talk that was going into this GDC talk where they're saying for any multiplayer game you want to have this really clear path to mastery where people can keep playing the game and keep getting better because that feels really good, but you also want to have a really strong community in the game which requires a constant influx of new players. But if all the players keep getting better and better, it means that the playing field keeps getting more and more unfriendly to new people, which means that the community can't stay good. So do you limit people's ability to get better so that new people still want to play, or do you let people just give up on new players eventually and just cater to a really small community?
I think A couple ways that they've dealt with this. Like, remember World of Warcraft tried it by using gear score? So it's like you wouldn't just get thrown in with a pub. They had to actually have at least a minimum amount of equipment to be in that encounter or whatever. But I think stuff like that basically just then makes like a hierarchy where it's just like, we're not even going to associate with you until your X gear score. So I think the best thing to do would be to take the gear score idea but make it invisible so the players can't see it. And then match them up according to maybe how many times you've accomplished this in the game or how many games you've played or what your average rank with this character is or fucking whatever.
Well, but so you have a game that's been around for a couple years, right? And then someone picks it up and they're way late to the party. Like, they're playing like the original game content. They don't even have like the new expansions yet. Like, how do they find a group in a system like that?
Well, I feel like there'd always be people. Like, if it's a popular enough game where you need a system like that, there's always going to be, like, the new dudes. And you just get thrown in with them, basically, up to a certain level. And then after that, you graduate to, like, the next, I don't know, cohort.
I guess the game that I would say that did the best job of that was Final Fantasy XIV, or at least the one that I played. And they had, there was inherently a system where it would level you down to any content you were doing. So, like, no matter how far in the game you got, you could always play old content, and it would just be, like, the strongest you could have been at that point.
Right. Yeah, that's, like, the opposite way to do it. But that doesn't. That only works with, like, the PvE type stuff, though. If you do player versus player.
No, they do the same thing. They have lower rank and higher rank arenas, and I mean, it is a problem because you're always playing against guys that have, like, perfect gear for that level. So it still kind of screws you over.
All right.
Okay, fair enough.
I've got to give a quick honorable mention to Kid Icarus on the NES. Because, my God, that game, I don't know if you guys have ever played, like, the original Kid Icarus on the NES before, but the controls in that game are absolute trash. Everything is slippery and the jump feels like crap. And they actually fixed it for, like, the 3DS re-release. They made the controls feel better.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Wait.
I was on board. I was thinking, like, oh, man, that 3DS version sounds like a really faithful remake of the original.
Yeah, what do you mean?
Well,
no, they fixed the controls. They made it less shitty.
I mean, I guess maybe, I don't know, less is a relative term, I suppose.
No, it's not. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it can be less shitty.
The game is good.
Shitty, that's all I'm saying.
For an NES game, it's actually fantastic, and I think that it would have been a contender for one of the better games on the NES if it actually didn't play like garbage. It didn't control like garbage specifically, because the levels themselves are fun. Once you can actually play the game, the levels are very interesting.
I see.
Anyway,
So
I just wanted to throw that one out there.
So I guess, like, is he like playing like he's on ice the whole time, essentially?
Pretty much.
Oh, dude, that's the worst.
It's horrible to control. Like, I can show you. I have it on my 3DS. I can show you because they got both the controls on there, and you can, like, see the difference for yourself. But one of the ones that is probably the highest on my list of, like, a game where one thing ruined it. Oh, Fat Princess.
Oh, man.
Fat Princess is like a on its own, Fat Princess is like a 10 out of 10 game. Like, it's legitimately amazing.
It offended you.
Huh?
It offended you, is what you said.
Oh, man. Like, legitimately, there are so few games, like these little arena fighters, where everything is so creative and works together so well. You have all these classes that are really well balanced, and people can drop their hats, and you can pick up their hats and take their class from them, basically. You can it's capture the flag, but you can make your flag fat so that it's harder to carry. It's just, there's so many cool little elements to it. I could go on forever about it. And then they took this game and they're like, you know what this game needs? It needs DLC. It needs DLC. It needs 3 new classes that are completely fucking broken and break the entire aesthetic of the game, and, like, completely. You're like, oh, here's your
new classes.
Here's your mage, here's your bowman, here's your priest, here's your swordsman, you know? And then they're like, but here are the 3 new classes. 2 of them are like fucking pirate and ninja. And so right away it's like imagine if TF2 came out and they're like, oh yeah, well, here's 2 new classes, like back in its heyday. Like two new classes, the pirate and a ninja, and they're both paid DLC. You have to pay to play as them, and they're both it's super OP. Because they were laughably OP, like ridiculously, like undeniably OP. I'm floored that they did it. It's amazing to me.
Team Fortress is, I think, the best example for a game exactly like that, like you're saying, that starts out extremely balanced and then expands upon itself in a way that like doesn't break that balance. Like,
see, but with Fat Princess, the DLC didn't even expand the game in any way. They just added bullshit characters that didn't add to the game in any way.
And I would actually, I'm not even sure I'd agree with that entirely, Mike.
Really? I don't know.
I mean, I played a lot of TF2. Apparently, see, I feel like I played a lot of TF2 until I talked to other people about how much TF2 they played. And I'm like, oh, maybe I didn't play that much TF2.
I mean, I played TF2 from vanilla through like all the updates.
Mm-hmm. So for me, like peak TF2 is when you have like the one set of weapons for everybody, and then like the alternate set that you get through the achievements. Like the height of TF2 was like the sniper versus spy update for me.
Oh yeah,
and, yeah, with the bow.
That
and
was
stuff?
literally the height of TF2.
That was pretty good, yeah.
Well, but specifically, it's because you can look at any character and you have kind of a good idea of what they're gonna do. There's like this really, really tightly knit ecosystem of like who counters who, and then like over the course of the game, like I mean this is like a meme at this point, but like you see a demo man, and you have no clue what that guy's gonna do in modern TF2. He could do anything. He could be a melee character, a range character, a sniper.
No.
He could like backflip off the ceiling and like slap you in the face.
No, I mean, depending on what weapon they have out is what they could do. So, like, if he's got the shield, he can charge, you know? If he's got the sticky bomb, he's going to jump.
I mean, it started getting into a game where, like, it was originally, there was a really low learning curve where, like, you'd go in and you see the heavy, and pretty much once you learn the basics of the 9 classes, as soon as you see, like, that shape of that guy, you know where he's going to be and what he's going to be doing. And all of their alternate weapons give them like a cool new thing that kind of helps them, but it's you know they didn't really have changed roles. And over time, like I don't know, in my opinion, especially if like you leave the game for a while and then you come back, you have like 6 different soldiers on the enemy team, and every single one of them has a different rocket launcher, and like one of them has like a conch shell, another one has a bugle, one of them isn't even like trying to kill anybody, he's just trying to jump on your head like he's Mario. It just gets ridiculous after a while.
Do you guys have any other like any games that you would add to this list of better with one fix?
Oh, I got tons, bad boy.
TF2 will have to be for another time, I feel like, because
that's true.
That's a great game, even still to an extent.
Lots to unpack there.
Yeah.
I'll just do a quick honorable mention just to get it out of the way. Any 2K game, just let me play it.
This is going.
Just let me play the game. Like this, like honestly, XCOM. So XCOM is one of my favorite games. In XCOM 2, I actually couldn't play and enjoy the game because it was so unstable, and like even now it takes like so long to load. It's just I don't know. Like I don't have like a super weak PC, so it's just a real bummer.
1010% agree.
Yeah.
Not even just XCOM, like, all their damn games. Freaking Civ.
In general,
why is Civ so hard to play with anybody?
They need like extreme optimization. They came out with the I think it was 2K17 or 18, I think I got, because I like the WWE games because I like to make the stupid custom characters. And I get it. And not only does the game like look worse overall, like it just looks really bad. But it's like something like over 100 gigabytes, and I'm like, how the hell did you do this? It's the same deal with the Spyro trilogy remaster. It's like 70 gigabytes.
And if you're putting a game on a console, dude, that's just not allowed. Like that's untenable.
How did you manage this? What the hell is wrong with you?
The entire original game could still be inside of it, and it shouldn't be that big.
Yeah, exactly.
People have this obsession with just like more content, like more and more content. And I'll take half as much content if it means I can enjoy it twice as much. Like,
yes, definitely.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
We should make a whole topic one day on just like elegance versus just packing so much shit into your game you think it's interesting.
But yeah, so I don't want to spend too long on that because like obviously games being easier is or faster. I mean, so I got a controversial one here though.
Here we go.
The game Pit People.
Ooh, here we go.
Yeah.
Can you guys guess what I'm gonna say?
But you like pit people, though.
I do like pit people. I'll get that out of the way. I do really enjoy pit people, but one major thorn in the side of pit people, and it's something that I anticipated in advance before it came out, and my advice was not heeded. It's a real bummer. But yeah, so what do you think could be changed that would make the experience a lot smoother, specifically with two people?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's where I exactly thought you might have been going straight to the multiplayer. I honestly think limiting each player to 3 or 4 slots would probably do it, honestly.
And it's such a tiny thing. So, the whole game is really well balanced around 6 units on the board on each side. And, like, if you wanted to do no additional testing at all, you could have literally just done 3 and 3. But, if maybe that felt like it was too light, like each player wasn't making enough decisions, 4 and 4, having 1 extra unit on each side would not be that much extra. And like,
yeah, it would be very reasonable.
Because I want to play that game in co-op. I love that they have a co-op tactics game, but like, you and I try to play it, and it's a slog. It takes so long to get through some of these battles.
Yeah, we've talked about it before, but that basically what they do is, because there's 6 slots for each player, making 12 slots total instead of 6 for a single player. What they basically do is they double the amount of enemies for every battle, and from a very brief understanding, the assumption would be that like it would just maybe double the amount of time it takes to do a battle, but I think it lengthens it by even longer than that, because now you have so many more pieces to be aware of, and if you're healing, everything just lasts longer, basically.
Well, because in the most optimistic sense, you could say, oh, it's twice as long because there's twice as many units. But like, now there's 2 people, and you're coordinating between 2 people, and like, because in pit people, targets are all chosen randomly. You like, the only way to target a specific guy is to find one space where that unit isn't targeting anybody else, and so like, finding the exact square with each ranged unit becomes a nightmare because there's so many units within their area of fire.
Yeah, and Ryan and I pretty much, whenever we play multiplayer, we always prioritize like getting units that take up multiple like spaces, so that we just have fewer characters to think about.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. It makes it.
I'd have more to say about this, but you guys, just never play with me, ever. You're literally the only 2 people I know in the entire world that even know what pit people is.
Everybody, Larry, if you're listening, go buy pit people, play it with Mike.
Yeah, Larry, invite me on Steam, man. I'm MKG.
Oh, man. Yeah. Do you guys have another one?
I got quite a few. I'm gonna actually say, hey.
There you go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. One of the ones that I'm going to say is banjo-tooie. I enjoyed banjo-tooie to an extent. Like, I think I have more negative to say about it than positive. But I still have a lot of positive to say about it. It might be like 50-50. Out of all the games on my list, it's probably the game I enjoyed the most. But my God, like, you compare it to Banjo-Kazooie, the levels are like 3 times as big, and unlike Banjo-Kazooie, there aren't really any landmarks to kind of help you find your way. I'm the kind of person that gets very lost. My favorite story with Banjo-Tooie is that I spent, I think, something like 6 hours in a level, circling it, like looking for the last Jiggy, going crazy, driving myself nuts, before I realized that there was a second Mumbo building.
Oh, man.
And like, because they're on opposite sides, and one of them is good and one of them is evil. I'm so bad with directions that a lot of that is due to me being awful with directions. And I thought it was hilarious when it happened. But I also think in general, that problem persisted with most of the game, where like, I never at any point knew where I was in the level. I didn't have a map in my head like I did with Banjo-Kazooie, because there weren't ever any landmarks. The levels needed to be like half the size, and I think the only reason in Kazooie they were the size that they were is, if I'm correct, is because the devs were literally like limited on time. they didn't have enough time to make them as big as they wanted. And when Tooie came out, they're like, this is how we actually wanted the levels to be. And it's like, no, go back, do the smaller ones.
It's funny you say that because when I was a kid, my grandma had an N64. So the only time I got to play it is when I was at her house.
Yeah, whenever she wasn't playing it, I assume.
Well, I mean, it's not like she was just on it all day. So, like, most of the time, if I was there, I'd just play it. But either way, so she had Banjo-Kazooie, and, dude, that was the reason I never beat that game, is because I would go back, play it. It's been, like, a week since I played it. So, and I would just run around in circles and be like, oh, is this the way to go? No, I did this already. And there's just no way to, like, track anywhere you've been so far.
Yeah, with the first one, it's a lot better because the levels are so small, you can usually trace your steps. I think the clock... TikTok Wood, I think, is the only one that is legitimately enormous. I guess, and the pirate one as well, to an extent.
And I guess that kind of leads into the... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, man. What are we leading into?
I was just saying, it leads into the... it leads into the greater... any game in which you have to collect a bunch of things to 100% the game or get all the upgrades.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It needs a system where you can find those things...
Exactly, dude. Like,
yeah, if I've collected
Mario 64 set the standard where I walk up to a thing, here's everything to find in it. Have you found it yet? No, go back in there.
Yeah,
if you don't have that, you made it wrong.
As a rule of thumb, and I am livid that this isn't a standard in the industry yet, because I think even Nintendo still has this problem with a lot of their games. If I've collected like 98% of thing, and you have like 1,000 things or something, I need to have some idea of where the last 2% is. It doesn't need to be exact, but give me like a region of the map or something. Be like, this is more or less where it is. Like
the little what are those guys in Breath of the Wild? The little guys that wear the leaves as masks.
Koroks.
Oh, the Koroks. The Koroks are a little different just because you don't need to collect them all.
Yeah, dude, but there's no possible way that you'd be able to like organically find them all. Like,
yeah, that's true. You'd pretty much have to.
You'd have to play this game for like fucking 10 years.
Yeah, I think for that, and then also like the boss bonuses that the little creeper goblin man gives you, both of those are just like, oh yeah, go find every Korok on the map and get a stupid little statue in your inventory. Go fight every of this boss on the map and get a little statue, and you have no way to, like, if you're missing one or two, there's just no way to know in any way where it is.
Well, and it also affects your completion percentage, which I think it shouldn't. I wish that it didn't.
Oh, yeah. That shouldn't do that.
I played the game so much, and my completion percentage is like 56 or something. Because there's just so many Korok seeds I didn't get.
Sometimes I appreciate the completion percentage because, like, Symphony of the Night, for example. Like, if the game never told you that you're not done with it yet, you'd have no reason to ever try to find, like, the Upside Down Castle or anything. Mm-hmm. You'd just be like, okay, I guess it's done.
Well, Ryan's not necessarily saying it shouldn't have the completion percentage, but more that it shouldn't apply to stuff like Koroks if they're not going to give you a way to seek out the Koroks outside of a mask that beeps if you're, like, within a 10-foot radius or whatever.
And the Koroks were specifically designed to be like, we don't intend you to go and get all these. We just want there to be so many that you're constantly finding them no matter where you look.
I can't think of a good example off the top of my head, but I like when a game will be like, your save file will get like a star or something next to it once you're done with everything, and then if you 100% it, then it'll like turn platinum or some shit or get an S or whatever.
Captain Toad has like all these. It has the levels, and you play through them, and they have these like little objectives for each level. And if you do just all the main things for the levels, you get these 3 little gold medals on the front of the book. But there's a bunch of secret little like find the secret pixel Toad, beat the level in like this extremely tight timeline, that kind of thing. And then by the time you've done all the things, the book is just covered in all these like little stickers and stars and stuff like that. By the end, I was like, do I have everything?
Yeah, see, and that's the perfect example. Like, do I have everything is a great thought to have. And then once you do, the game confirming that you do is like just icing on the cake. Yeah,
that's always a good thing to have.
And I mean, at the end of the day, like, the specific feeling of being like, because it doesn't feel that, like, if you really enjoy a game, it doesn't feel that bad to go and comb through like every nook and cranny. Mm-hmm. But what really feels bad is doing it twice, or like doing it 3 times and being like, fuck, where is the thing?
Exactly.
And that's where Undertale succeeds, dude. Is there's so much content, and once you've beaten it all, it's like, okay, we're just gonna hurry you through the shit that you already know, and here's the new stuff.
Yeah, skip into cutscenes and all that.
Well, just even skipping entire like plot events, like it'll just be like, okay, we know you beat this puzzle, and it'll just like zap you through and give you some excuse.
Yeah. Anyone have another one?
I got a big one.
Dude, Metal Gear 4, strictly just because every time you beat anybody, you got to get an hour cutscene of their entire life. Like literally every single person.
That was such an experience for me playing Metal Gear Solid 4. When I beat the game and I think like an hour and a half or something into that cutscene, I'm like, this has been going for a while.
When I beat the rocket launcher vulture model lady, whatever her name is, friggin' she like laid there and died, and I'm like 45 minutes in, I was like, oh, okay, it's done. That wasn't too long. And then it switches to the codec conversation between him and Otacon, and now they got to ruminate about what we just saw for like another 40 minutes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I think from what I've heard, Death Stranding has a lot of the same issues. At least late game it does. I've only played, I think, the first chapter. I'm going to give that game a little bit more time before I drop it.
Here's my instant review. 2 thumbs down. Big stinker. No.
Oh my god.
What
Dude,
is
Kojima
worst
this
thing?
is why Kojima decided not to come. He knew you were just going to bully him the whole time.
It was supposed to be a gotcha
That was an ambush,
interview.
wasn't it? Yeah, gotcha interview. It's our first clickbait interview.
Death Stranding had a lot going for it, but the main issue, like honestly, if we're gonna wrap it into this topic, the number one issue is just the UI and menuing in that game is atrocious. Like
there's definitely room for improvement in there.
When you just find a single box and you like, oh no, I'm kind of full on boxes. I need to pick this one up and put one down. It's not like it's that long, but it's like a 12-second ordeal going in and out of these stupid menus. And like, it's a dumb joke, but like, it really does take like you have to skip 3 cutscenes just to pee. Like, why do you have to do that? It doesn't make any sense.
Is it supposed to not be like an action game, but like, you know, like a simulator of some kind? You know what I mean?
It's almost kind of like a simulator, yeah.
Like you know how like some people really love what's that European game where you drive like all the big rigs and buses and shit? You know what I'm talking about?
Euro Truck Simulator?
Yeah, Euro Truck Simulator.
That game is great. I love that game.
Is it just Hideo Kojima's Euro Truck Simulator? Is that what this is?
Kind of.
See, I would say no. I would say no, and the reason is because in Euro Truck Simulator, they don't make you watch a bunch of cutscenes about driving trucks. They let you drive the trucks. And so like that if they let me go, like literally when I'm playing this game and I'm like not doing my mission, I'm just running around and doing random package deliveries because I'm scared. I'm scared if I go and do a mission, I don't know how long it's going to be before I get to do another, like before I get to play the game again.
Yeah, well, gameplay wise, I would say it reflects a simulator in some interesting ways. It's an interesting comparison to make because it really does feel like a lot of it was built to be like, oh yeah, you have to manage these packages. Sometimes you have to put a package down and then pick it back up and put it on your bike and stuff like this.
All that is fine, but like I'm just talking like the sheer amount of time that it. Like, you'll play the game for 20 hours, and you'll realize, like, 8 of those hours were spent in menus. And that's just too many, in my opinion.
No, yeah. I mean, I think the menus are definitely a problem.
And even just, like, they have these little subtle animations, and it, like, makes them, you know, oh, yeah, it's cool. But, like, these little animations of, like, where it takes just a second longer to fade in or whatever, like, that adds up to a lot. But, you know, I'd like it a lot better if they were just, like, quick and snappy.
The question is, though, is the actions that you do in the menus, like, gameplay... Like, I spend most of my time in Kerbal Space Program in menus, but I'm, like, usually putting something together or, like, opening up parts and stuff.
I think people would argue that it is part of the gameplay to basically manage your stuff, but I think Ryan is more arguing along the lines of how inconvenient it is in some cases.
Well, I'm purely asking, because I haven't played this game, so I don't know what you even do to make the game go.
To relate it to Kerbal Space Program... I'm not complaining that you have to spend a lot of time making a ship. I would be complaining in this case that it's really, really hard to make the ship part go to the spot that you want it to go to. And so you spend a lot of time like being finicky with the mouse. Where it's like you're not spending time in the entertaining part of the menu, you're spending time fighting the menu to make it do what you want to do and actually play the game.
I see.
I guess a good example would be like Color Splash's battle system has you color in a card by holding the stylus down on the touchscreen and then flicking the card up to use the attack. And people wouldn't necessarily say that the problem is the fact that you're doing those things, the game part of it, but more the fact that you have to do it every single turn.
Yeah, and you can't
along
sort
with
through
a bunch
your
of other
cards.
inputs.
So you have to sort through this like really ugly, like long menu to get through like a card you want.
Now I will say that the menus, at least so far, because I think you might have played more than me, Ryan, but I think so far with Death Stranding, I haven't had as many issues as you with the menus, if only because the menus are like usually the points between these really long jobs you do. So it's not like you're constantly doing menus. You just do a bunch of gameplay, then you get to your base and you do menus for a bit, and then you leave and you do more gameplay. And I would agree that there's probably room for improvement in those areas, but for that reason it hasn't affected me as strongly, I think.
But the menus are supposed to be like the cool down period or whatever, but they're just annoying. Is what Ryan's saying.
I mean, it's more subtle things. Like every time you go into an area with a bunch of BTs, and I actually think they patched this out since I played.
They did.
Yeah. So and good on them because it was terrible. But it used to be that every time you went into an area of BTs, there would be like a straight 12-second cutscene of being like, "Watch out, there's BTs."
Yeah,
and
your little guy on the side.
And it's more just things like that, like lots of little things that are constantly wasting your time, and they all stack up, and it just makes things feel sluggish.
I hear you.
Okay, I got a big one.
Big
all
one.
right.
Coming in.
It doesn't quite fit, but I'm counting it. So it's the items in Super Smash Brothers.
Wait. You're saying Super Smash Bros. Would be good if there were no items in it.
No, I'm saying everybody knows, not everybody knows, but essentially anybody who plays the game even remotely seriously turns off most or all of the items, and it's because they're just really terribly balanced. And I think that the balance could really each of the items has like one little tiny change that it could have to make it a perfectly fine item. Like the bat, right? The bat's a really fun item. People love getting the bat and then using it and trying to get people with this big home run swing. It's really exciting. But the problem is, and the reason you can't have it competitively, is because you can just infinitely throw the bat for like 20% or 25% damage, and it's a really fast projectile that comes out of nowhere with like no startup, and it has like a ton of knockback. So just make it so that throwing the bat just doesn't do that much damage. Make it do like 2 to 5% damage and have low knockback. So it's just make it the equivalent of like
Wouldn't
Peach's
it make more
turnip.
sense for the bat to just break when you hit it when you throw it at somebody?
Well, I mean, they can make it. They make it a wooden bat, and yeah, if you throw it, it breaks and it doesn't do as much. But if you swing it against somebody, it breaks and knocks them away.
So, I'm gonna disagree with you on the aspect that what's missing for items to be used in competitive play is for them to be balanced better. I think the number one reason that items are not used in competitive is because they're random, because they spawn randomly. And so unless you have a non-random spawning system, I think that's always going to be the case.
So you could literally just do
I
that.
disagree. I kind of disagree, though. They have a World Series of Poker. That's the most random thing there possibly is, and yet those guys get down. Why can't there be a random element to the competitive play?
Well, the challenge of poker is sort of intrinsically based on the cards you get and dealing with them and not knowing what anybody else has, that hidden information.
So let's say you are controlling the entire stage and forcing your opponent to stay in a small area. By virtue of the fact that you have controlled a larger amount of territory, now you've influenced the random in your favor, because now you have more access to the items.
It's still random. I just think competitively people don't want them because they're random. I think that's the number one reason.
I mean, you could literally just have on certain stages, you could just have designated, or on every stage, it's not that hard, just pick a few areas that are designated spawning points, and then you could just turn on as a mode, items only spawn in the designated spot. And
that makes sense.
It would be a timed thing or whatever.
And then you have to,
protect
those spots, basically.
Like I said, for it to be viable, I would need to have a non-random spawning system, and that's not only non-random in terms of where it spawns, but also when it spawns.
But I don't even agree. I don't think that when it spawns or what it spawns needs to be random. I think that I can agree that controlling for where, and I mean it's not even that hard. You can literally just make it in the center, and then if you just know that the center is where the items spawn, so you control the center of the arena. It's pretty easy.
And I also think that you've got like stages where like a platform moves and that platform is banned from competitive. Like and that whole stage just gets banned because it has a moving platform. I don't think there's a feasible way to get items.
Well, so I mean,
So
you
all
say
the
that,
people
but
work
like,
in a competitive.
So
sphere.
all the people who are the competitive players are just super perfectionists who just don't want to have to deal with like changing variables.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, dude, they banned Hero because he had random. That was like a big part of it.
It's weird.
is
I
he
wonder
actually
what
banned?
what a
Like from what? From Evo?
From tournaments and stuff, I think. I don't know
Oh.
from Evo, but I know that when Hero first was released, pretty much competitive players. I was seeing a bunch of competitive players didn't like him, and I think he was banned from a bunch of tournaments and stuff because he has that random attack.
That's lame.
I think the only like there is some random in the attacks, but it's usually like very controlled and like very specific to the character's attacks. If you're talking about like items and stuff spawning randomly into stages, that usually goes. I mean, they don't even play on like walk-off stages, and I get that that's like a different thing altogether. But
I mean,
it's
if you compare it to a game like this is the first one I could think of, but Dota, there's like a huge amount of randomness in a game like Dota. Like even like and like I guess the equivalent of items would be the runes that spawn in the river. And like you know that like at certain times the runes will spawn, but you don't know what rune it'll be, and getting the right rune versus the wrong rune can be a huge, change for your team.
Yeah, definitely.
But like it doesn't make Dota not
I think that since Smash is a sort of close combat action game, I think competitive players like to focus on just the base mechanics of those two characters bashing it out with each other.
They just
all
want
I'm
it to
saying
be
is-
more of a fighting game and not have to worry about outside.
Yeah, pretty much.
Elements.
the
I
items
guess
of
I can
Smash
understand.
Brothers are such a massive part of the game, though. There's so many
I
things
think so.
and,
I think so, too.
combos that
I-
are only possible with items, and
Yeah,
like
I mean,
I just
I
think
don't
it's
like
a
playing-
waste.
I don't like playing without items because I don't find the game as fun without items. I think the game can be fun without items, but anytime I'm playing without items, I'm like, okay, but why aren't there items? I don't know.
I
Well,
think it'd
and
be
I guess
more fun
that's what I'm trying
watch,
to
just
say.
as an event is just to see the items because shit blows up and there's lasers. It's just more fun.
Well, so and so taking away the argument of just like, oh well, competitive players, no matter what you do, they're just gonna keep being buttholes about it. Like, besides that, I think like with just a few really tiny changes to the items, like there's so many things that you have to turn off because of their functionality being just ridiculously busted.
Yeah, I agree, and especially like I think post Brawl is when they started adding some really bad items, and they haven't stopped adding bad items.
Yeah, like spicy curry. Why would they add an item that like permanently locks somebody while leaving the person using the items like all of their moves open? Essentially, like they have so many items that are just an instant kill if you get them. Like a huge swath of them result in an instant kill.
No, it's ridiculous.
So like I guess without just being general, like so good items in my opinion would be like the Galaga that like captures people and runs away.
I love the Galaga. It's so funny.
And then a bad item would be like the Legend of Zelda beetle, which is just the Galaga but can be activated from like any range and like instantly hit somebody, and if they have too much percent they're just killed.
I don't think they kept that one in Ultimate.
I
Maybe
do
they
think
did.
I can't remember. The Gust Bellows is a classic terrible item. It's like the
I'm still
only way to
forever
use
going
it
be
is just
mad.
to
Gust Bellows is trash. I'm forever mad that they took the red shell out of the game and never put it back in. It's so annoying to me. Red shell's like one of the best items.
They kept the blue shell.
I don't care about the blue shell. The blue shell just I don't give a damn about it.
In general, throwing items is just
Well,
overtuned across the board.
Yeah, so I was gonna actually move on to one of my other examples. Ever Oasis. And actually, I said before, Banjo-Tooie is probably the game I liked most on this list. It's actually Ever Oasis. I'm sorry. Ever Oasis
what is
is
this
a
game?
fantastic game. It's a 3DS game where you manage a little town and you go out and you explore in dungeons. You have teams that you manage and stuff like that. There are like resources you collect and you just slowly build this oasis up better and better. It's got a great art style. The game is a lot of fun. It's really creative. It's got a lot of stuff that like it feels completely unique as a game.
It sounds really similar to what was that game you played on the DS, Ryan? That was like that.
Fantasy Life?
Is that it? I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean that's the one. That's the one I was thinking of too. Fantasy Life.
Ryan and I both played Ever Oasis, but yeah, basically my one problem with Ever Oasis is that you need to dedicate yourself utterly and completely to the game.
Holy shit.
I left this game for like a month, not even that much time. I'm like, I was very busy on like at work or something. I had to do a lot of work around that time. I come back to it finally. I'm like, okay, let's get back to it. And there's all these shops in my town, and they're all expecting me to like manage their stock, and then like I have to like choose who stays working and who comes with me on the missions, and I have to manage this fucking town. I really want to get back to this game. It's impossible. I'm never going to remember what my plans were when I left. I'm never going to be able to pick it back up because there's so much shit going on.
It's so funny because that was actually the exact same thing that happened to me. It's like I got stuck at a dungeon and I was just like, I'll put it down. Like a week later, I came back. And that was it. Like I couldn't remember anything.
Yeah, that game needs like a fucking spreadsheet or something. But like if you start that game, you have to finish it. Like you can't just stop playing for a bit, because if you stop playing for a bit, the game is over. It's done. You're never going back.
Dang. Yeah, man.
That was so overwhelming.
That was 12-year-old me with banjo.
Another honorable mention, Mod Nation Racers on the PlayStation 3. Relatively decent racing game. I remember I enjoyed playing it on the most part, and the fact that you could build your own tracks was really cool. I would have really enjoyed getting into it if like every time after the first few sessions where I'm like, maybe I'll play some Mod Nation Racers, I start thinking back and I'm like, do I really want to wait through 1 minute of loading screen for every fucking race? It's seriously, Mod Nation, I think, had some of the worst, slowest loading screens I've ever dealt with in my life. It's just literally like every race.
And this is pretty much the same thing we were saying before about just like you got to just optimize your game.
Yeah. It can really ruin an experience if you're just left waiting for so long to play the game.
Let's say
I got one that's or go ahead.
Oh no. Yeah, if you got a good one, hit me with it.
My good one, this is more of a level design oriented one, and I think I touched on this one last time as well, but I spent a little bit of time playing the game Warframe, and I loved the movement in this game. You have the ability to wall climb and wall run.
Is that the game where if you die in the game, you die in real life?
I think that's the one, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. You have to plug this giant needle in the back of your neck.
That's war butt. That's war butt.
But it's the cybernetic space ninjas game. It's got pretty unique art. I'll give them that. It's got a very unique aesthetic. But so you can wall climb, you can wall run, you can double jump and do like these dashes and this little combat slide, like the Call of Duty slide or whatever. And it's so fun to run around and climb around. And every single level is just 2-dimensional and like one level, and every single boss is like just a guy who stands still, and like there was a boss that I fought for like 20 minutes where he like had 3 points and he just moved between those 3 points, and all 3 of them were on like the same elevation, and it's like, why can I jump this much? Why can I move this much?
This is an MMO.
It is not an MMO. It's an instanced action game, essentially, like an instanced over-the-shoulder shooter.
But you play with other people?
It's community-based, isn't it?
Well, so you play with other players, but it's not an MMO. It's just a MO.
Just an MO. They couldn't afford the M. That's the problem.
But yeah, just in general, like, I guess, can you think of any other examples of games where, like, they had great mechanics, but like the level design didn't allow them to shine?
That's a good question.
Great mechanics, but the level design just wasn't there, huh? I'd have to sit and think about that, honestly.
Yeah. I don't know any off the top of my head.
Topic for another time.
Yeah. Mike, hit us with another example.
I'm gonna say, just once again.
Sorry, one quick okay, Ryan. Kirby's Return to Dreamland.
Oh.
You have Kirby. How do you mess it up? You mess it up by making the levels flat and repetitive.
There you go. There's
bingo.
the example.
And that's the exact same thing. You have an entire character where one of his core elements is that he can blow himself up and fly around.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I got another one. You got, I guess I don't want to steal a future video from you, but Super Paper Mario.
No,
Oh man,
Super
you have
Paper
a
Mario was
2D,
ruined
3D thing.
Super Paper Mario is ruined by everything.
But I'm just saying specifically, like, you have this ability where you could, like, turn sideways and, you go through the world in 2D and then you turn sideways and now you can see it in 3D. But then they just, like, forgot to put anything in 3D, so it just never actually does anything. It's just, like, empty every time.
Trust me, even better level design wouldn't have saved that game. It's that game has a lot of issues.
Tune in one day to hear George absolutely decimate
some other
Super
time,
Paper
though.
Mario. Yeah.
I've got a video in the oven, you know.
Shameless plug.
All right, what were we gonna say, Mike?
Putting it in the oven, that's not good for your equipment.
Yeah, here, Mike. Why don't you go ahead and say something?
You were saying you were gonna mention one.
Once again, in general, I'm gonna say every Rockstar game would be good if the actual campaign was good. Because if you could dick around for hours in the city, like in the same way during the campaigns, and it was like part of progressing the story, like you could in the original Grand Theft Autos, then yeah, all those games would be awesome.
See, I've actually got a similar but different approach.
Yeah,
I think I put Grand Theft Auto 5 specifically because I there are a lot of Grand Theft Auto, like I think up to 3 I enjoyed a lot. Specifically Grand Theft Auto 5, I'm not 100% sure if it would save the game for me, but I think that Grand Theft Auto 5 would be much more fun if it just had a ton of cheat codes.
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 5 has like more cheat codes than 4, and the cheat codes are better than 4. But if I'm thinking of, like on the top of my head, the only cheat codes that I like in Grand Theft Auto 5, it's like Skyfall. And like I think like 1 or 2 other ones. Whereas the old Grand Theft Autos had a bunch of crazy shit, the giant heads and like turning everyone into ninjas, making the cops like just ignore you. That kind of I just really want more of like that. Where are the tanks? Where that like there was one Ryan and I played this game for like 130 hours and we saw one tank and we couldn't get inside of it. It's ridiculous. What the hell is Grand Theft Auto without tanks? So it needs cheats. It needs to be goofier. It needs to be crazier. Like with the cheats in Vice City in 3 and San Andreas. Because those cheats were a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to just dick around in those games, and I wouldn't have felt the need to play the story if the sandbox was fun, you know.
I just noticed there's a trend nowadays to make these big, huge open world games that have like a million details in them, and like they're super beautiful and a bunch of interlocking systems and everything. They have like a whole
the horse testicles.
But then you go to play the actual campaign, and the campaign it's like they spent the least amount of time on at anything else. And you don't even use half of the details that they put in this big, huge, beautiful world to accomplish your goals in the campaigns, or to beat the bosses. So what was the point? And it's
how much time do you think like the Grand Theft Auto 5 devs spent programming and developing and designing yoga? Right. Fucking yoga.
But
who the fuck is doing yoga?
No, but here's the thing though: if they wanted to put yoga in the game, then there should be a spot later on in the game where you have to like go through like lasers to rob a bank or something, and you have to use the moves from yoga, or else like, the cops come and interrupt the mission, or else what is the fucking point?
Oh man, yeah, no, there's so many more ways to be fun with it, and it's just trying so hard to be like more realistic. I don't know how do you get to a point as a development studio where you're like, well, the only positive direction to go here is to remove the drivable tank. What?
It's because they just want it to be cinematic or whatever. So to everything needs to happen according to the beat that they had planned for the little movie. So
enter at this point me with the perfect version of Grand Theft Auto, and I say it every time. It's Saints Row 3, baby. Totally underloved.
Pretty fun.
Because I would say that, because pretty much what you guys are saying, like the one thing that you would change in Grand Theft Auto to really like fix all of that is you just change the theme. Because the best parts of Grand Theft Auto are all the most ridiculous parts, all the ridiculous cheats and like the Skyfall cheat, all the over the top situations. But then they try to make it like this serious story that never ends up paying off, because how could it? Because like all the characters are just like insane. There's no way you could have. And so
Grand Theft Auto, especially the later ones, it gets to a point where like the early Grand Theft Autos like Vice City, everything was purely like satire completely. And then the new ones kind of try to mesh the satire with more of like a serious situation.
No. And like in Saints Row 3, that's what they do. They do only the satire, and like not just like, and they actually achieve like powerful cinematic moments way better too, because they're willing to be so ridiculous for it. They'll like, I mean, like all of the musical sections in Saints Row where I can't remember the names of any of these songs. I don't listen to the songs, but like where you're coming out of the helicopter and like the mission is timed to like the beats of this song. It's like so like I don't know. It's like I can't remember a single moment in a Grand Theft Auto game that was like as well cinematically put together as like, or like the escape. Like there we go. Like the I need a hero sequence at the end of Saints Row 3 when you have to like choose if you're gonna go after the villain or save what's her name, like Yolandi or whatever her name was. Oh man. So like all Grand Theft Auto needs to do is go back to that Vice City type theme where they just embrace the fact that it's a ridiculous, stupid game and not worry about it.
Yep. I don't even think it's the theme. I think they could keep the realism, but what they got to do is like use all of the mechanics that you've stuffed into this game to actually support what you're trying to like accomplish in the main storyline. You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense.
Like in Red Dead, you can hunt and track and skin animals and like do stuff with their pelts. Why is there not a level that you have to hunt and track like a human being using the things from the hunting mini game that you meticulously spent to like stuff into the side content? Instead, this
Mike,
is like
they
a whole
already make you play
thing.
yoga in the story. I don't want them to make me play more yoga. I want to play Grand Theft Auto, Mike.
No, but I'm saying like here's the scenario. Like you run up with your horse and it's like you're looking for this guy because you want to fucking grab him and bring him back, but he's hiding. So they could either make a red dot that you just chase through the snow, or they make it so you have to use all the shit that you use in the hunting minigame to chase them around because they put that as a mechanic in their game. So why isn't it part of the main story?
Well, and I mean, the answer is because they know that the mechanic they put in their game isn't fun, but they don't have the balls to just cut the mechanic entirely.
No, I think it could be fun. Like you have to like basically chase their scent or whatever, and like they do a lot of different efforts to hide, but you're able to find them because you have all these little hunting mechanics or whatever. And then it makes it a reason for it to have been put in the game. Or else, if not, like we said before, just cut it out of the game. Make it more elegant and not just stuffed with shit.
As a whole, I at least agree with the notion that like the story, the campaign should like be a very good reflection of the different mechanics in the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
And if the entire reason, like if the entire use of yoga in Grand Theft Auto 5 is a mission that nobody likes because it's extremely boring, then there's really no reason to have yoga, it seems like, because they can't even with a story, they can't put an interesting context to it.
Exactly. I'll give you an example from a good game, right? Like Breath of the Wild. One of their mechanics is you can put those little balloons on stuff and make it float. And then you have a leaf where you can like blow it away and then they pop and they fall on stuff. But you only ever do that like in the overworld and just for like usually arbitrary reasons. Like there's never like the boss fight where you're like, oh shit, here's bombs. Here's the dude. Let's drop it on him, and like this is like a part of the boss fight, or it's like a puzzle or something. Like, I feel like most of them just boil down to whip out my sword and just beat the shit out of Shadow Ganon, and then the boss fight ends.
With Breath of the Wild, more of the focus is just on complete freedom to fight the boss however you want. So you could use the balloons if you want, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I have another example. Scribblenauts. Now, you might be thinking, if you've played Scribblenauts, you might be thinking, there's no way there's only one issue with this game.
That's exactly what I was thinking. How did you know?
But that's not true. It can be, like, it can go from a game, like, Scribblenauts as a whole is such a brilliant concept. Being able to just write anything and it just appears.
Yeah.
But they take it and they're like, let's make puzzles around this, and all the puzzles are trash. It's like a pirate walking up to you, they're like, I have scurvy. What do I do? Obviously, you give them an orange, you know. Okay, who cares? This guy's like, I need someone to play the guitar. Okay, literally any living thing in the world, you just make it and it can play the guitar. It's still fun to like screw around with it because it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a band where like it's Cthulhu and a baby on like a baby's playing the drums and Cthulhu's on the guitar, you know. Vocals is like Mark Twain or something.
Well, and that's the thing is that, so anybody who plays that game, like the fun that comes from the game is them like applying the fun themselves, where they're like, oh, I'm going to try to solve this puzzle in a way that I shouldn't be able to, essentially. Yeah,
exactly. Trying to kind of cheat the system. And in general, Fifth Cell, most of their games that I played, mostly being Scribblenauts and Drawn to Life, I don't remember if there were any others I played, were like really amazing, smart concepts and just awful execution. And it's definitely the case for Scribblenauts, where like the puzzles aren't fun. And so here's what I think would have fixed it. Is instead of having it so that you're in a world and you walk up to someone and they give you some problem and you fix their problem and they give you a star, right? Make it sort of like checklist style, almost like Untitled Goose Game, where you give them a big environment with a bunch of objects and characters and stuff like that. And some characters and some objects have star rights, but you don't know which ones. And the checkboxes, your little list, are like hints. And so one of your hints would be something like help someone learn to play the guitar. Obviously, you could like put a guy down and give them a guitar and give them a guitar teacher or something like that. But they're not going to give you the star right because they're not the ones that have it. If you make it like in the world somewhere as star rights, you can't just cheat your way through with the dictionary every time. Now you need to actually find stuff, especially if you have a bunch of stuff in the world that is not necessarily related to the puzzles. Almost like make it feel like fucking Where's Waldo, where you're like looking at your big list of tasks and you're trying to find
like the tasks. The tasks in and of themselves are like
riddles. Like almost like riddles in a way.
Well, and I really love that idea actually, because the best parts of the game are just like experimenting and stuff, and so like having like a secret list where you're just going around and just trying to do different things. You just like, there's like a king and he's having a party and you're just like, oh, what if I make the party better? What if I poison the king's food and kill him? You know, like, and you're
exactly
trying to find secret star rights.
This is basically saying make it Hitman.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, there should just be a lot of secrets to find. There should be checklists so that it's not obvious, because that's part of the problem. Is that it's always obvious what you're supposed to do because they just straight up tell you. It should be more hidden than that. It should be a little more vague as to what you're supposed to do, and it shouldn't just tell you where you're doing it. You should have to go look around and try to find a special thing. And now like exploration is kind of part of the enjoyment, you know?
Yeah.
Something that I would personally like. They have it, I think, if you do the same puzzle multiple times, but I actually would just want it in general. I would want a bonus on every puzzle if you like solved the puzzle with a new word.
So, like in different ways? Yeah, that could be really cool.
So like every time you use a word, you gotta like, you know, keep thinking of new words.
Yeah, totally.
Dude, another one I'm thinking of.
Go ahead.
Have you guys played Valkyria Chronicles at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the motherfucking stupid tank boss fights. Where like the king comes out of this giant like tank that's the size of a building. If you've played these damn games, you get to this part, and I guarantee it's the reason why most people stop playing.
Really?
You have to fight a giant tank, and you can't just like hit it with rockets and stuff like you can every other vehicle in the game, and it loses difficulty or
weird
HP or whatever. You have to shoot it in special like radiators, but after you hit the radiators in an amount of time, this cooling system comes out of the tank, and then you have a couple turns where you can hit the cooling system, but at the same time you have to fight all of the people who are surrounding the tank like you do any other level, and if the tank targets you, it's just going to wipe you out basically like in a turn or two, so you always got to keep your guys in cover.
I think conceptually something like that could work, but I can definitely see that in practice it would.
Conceptually it totally works, but here's the bullshit is the tank then will back up against the edge of the level, so you can't shoot its last radiator. Unless you chose to make that radiator the first one you targeted, then now it makes it completely unwinnable.
It's a definite no-go.
So then you restart and you say, okay, well, I'm going to get that one first. And then, all right, you damage the tank. But then a cutscene starts and some lady who looks like the lady from Valkyrie Profile shows up and just fucking one-shots like your entire crew. And you didn't know she was going to show up, so you have like half your crew up the hill and she just murks them all. So then you restart and you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to put my guys up the hill this time. And you got to realize, dude, that each of these battles, like we're talking like 45 minutes to an hour and 10 for each of these attempts that I'm doing here. It's not like a quick 10-minute battle.
Yeah.
If you remove this one fucking series of boss fights from the game, it makes it like a freaking B+ game.
Very interesting.
The end.
Ryan, do you have any more?
I have one, but I want to end on it. So.
Oh, okay. So I'll peel out a couple more. I've got two more. What about you, Mike?
I guess I got a little baby one. This is Fallout New Vegas. I gotta sneak it in before Mike goes again. So everybody likes Fallout New Vegas. It's a pretty good game. The one change that they should do is make the walking speed 1.5 times faster. That's it. That's all I have to say.
I feel like there are actually a lot of games that would benefit from just speeding everything up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there's no reason, like, if your game is making the player walk slow just to convey a sense of scale and for no other reason, then fuck you.
You didn't mean that, Ton Howard.
So
please don't ban me from Fallout 76. I'm kidding. You can ban me from Fallout 76 online.
So you just want like a Naruto run button or something. So they just
I mean, literally, I just want it to be I mean, even if it's just like a faster out of combat thing, because the problem is I'll be playing and I'll just use the console to make myself faster, but then I'll feel like I'll be cheating in the combat because all the enemies aren't faster. But just like...
Well, I've seen... There have been a lot of games where they slow a character down for some stupid, dumbass reason that has nothing to do with making the game feel good. I think one of the examples I saw online was like... I think once 343 picked up Halo, they put in a sprint button. But like the sprint button actually makes you about as fast as your walking speed in the other games, but it's just more limited. So you're actually moving more slowly.
Because that was... What's the Halo game where you're not Master Chief? You're like those regular dudes.
The Spartans, the ODST.
Yeah, exactly. That was why though, right? Because you're not Master Chief. You're just like the regular schmucks.
I think specifically Halo 4 and 5 have it.
Halo 4 has a sprint button?
I think so.
Get the fuck out of here. What have they done?
And it's just like you look at it, it's like, okay, you actually move faster in the older games, so the sprint button just exists to kind of limit you. Something like that could work, but I don't think it works for Halo.
They should have made it like the sprint button turns you into like Doom Guy. Like you can just straight up like just run up and like punch the elites in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be cool if it was extremely limited, but yeah, it was like a quick dash like that.
Don't slow the player down for the sake of like slowing the player down. Basically, it's dumb. And I think what was it? One of our teachers told us once that one of the best things you can do when testing a game is just take everything and make it like multiply every number by like 2. Just make the speed twice as fast, make the points twice as fast. So you could end up with a point where you're testing it and suddenly it's like way more fun and you're like, oh holy cow, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just
I agree.
Go a little more wild with the numbers, you know. For me, I have 2 more. One of them is, I'm going to try to be quick with this one because I don't think anybody besides me has ever played this game in the world. It was a DS game called Monster Tale. And it was sort of a little Metroidvania where you had a little monster and you would wander through the world and train it. Like it'd be fighting characters for you and you'd be ordering it around. And it would get stronger. And there was like an evolution tree. And as you leveled up this evolution tree, it would get different forms that you could also build up and level up. But the problem is when you unlocked, it had 2 issues that were related to this tree. Because at its root, it sounds like a really cool game. But when I was playing it, I ended up getting very confused because I think by the time I got the first form, I was like past the first chapter of the game. I get this new monster. I think there are like 8 forms in total or something. I get this new form. I get it. And it's like a level 1 monster. It's like back where I was at the beginning. And I still have a lot of stuff to level up with my original monster. So I'm here with my new little guy, and he's doing almost no damage. I slowly start to level him up. Then I get a new form. I'm like at chapter 3 or 4 now. I'm just like, okay, wait a second. Where am I supposed to be getting all the monsters? Or am I supposed to pick one monster and stick with it forever? Because even then, like... It's a big tree, so like you have to level up monsters to get to the later monsters, but the later monsters all start at level 1, and the game is not the game is not long enough to justify having this many forms and this many trees and leveling up this much. I was just so confused the whole time. I was like, where am I supposed to be right now in this like with these levels? Am I supposed to be grinding one guy up? Am I supposed to be grinding all the guys up?
And that's
so
actually
what would you do to fix that then?
What would I do to fix that? Probably just a little more clarity. Either start the monsters like when you get a new form, either start them at a higher level. Like what I would preferably do is start the monster a little higher than the level of your monster when you unlock that form. Additionally, having ways to level up different forms without using them, so that if I am sticking with one form and leveling it up, I don't have to worry about the other ones falling behind in level. In general, the game just wasn't long enough to justify all the leveling that they were making me do. And so I think a little more clarity in that aspect, and having a level of like, this is where your monster should be level-wise, that kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and that's really related to something that's been like a eternal problem for Pokemon games, right? Where like
dude.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah.
Yeah, that's spot on.
I feel like all you would have to do to like make Pokemon a really interesting game, like all of them, is just like make it so that each time that you need to get a badge, you can't physically level a Pokemon above like that gym leader's highest level Pokemon, It's like you can't get guys that are higher than level 18 until you beat Brock, and you can't get, you know what I mean. And like, so like you can grind a bit and have a strong team, but you actually have to like engage with the combat system they made instead of just ignoring it by grinding accidentally constantly.
It's sort of like that, because Pokemon of a certain level won't listen to you unless you got X badge or whatever. But you're right. It's way too easy
only
just
if they're traded.
Like a mega team.
If they're
only
if they're traded, they don't. But if you raise them up yourself, they do.
Oh yeah. Then you're right. There's no penalty at all for just freaking mega grinding.
No, definitely.
They try to help.
The issue is,
I was getting similar vibes.
They try to fix it with like experience share and stuff, but it's like, what do you do to make this Pokemon all of a sudden like reflect the growth of being with that trainer, but also not fall behind to the point where it's useless?
But even in the case of this game, like I wanted to get the different monsters leveled up. I wanted to evolve them and see like all these different like evolutions and stuff they had. But the problem was that, like, I with me trying to evolve everybody at once, I kind of ended up in a situation where none of my guys were nearly at the level they should be. And so like clarity, like maybe locking some evolutions if you get too far in one evolution or something like that. It just needed to be railroaded a little better, I think.
I got one for competitive games. This is actually a really easy one. I was gonna say it for Overwatch specifically, but it's a lesson that can be applied to a lot of different games.
We have a whole episode set up for this.
Yeah, but I guess the preview to that episode, you have Overwatch. You remove Widowmaker, bam. 10 times better game.
Splatoon, you remove the sniper weapon. Any battle royale, remove the sniper weapon.
You know what though?
How convenient.
I will give honorable mention here to the Fortnite like hunting rifle class of snipers, because they have like such a slow arcing bullet that it feels more fair when you get like a long range kill. But hit scan sniping, no, get out of here.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation.
So but we'll have that another time.
So you're saying all games with snipers need bullet drop?
Yeah, snipers in real life, you're fine. In games, you're degenerate. You're degenerates and get out of here.
In real life, you're all right.
That's a whole conversation.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess unless you were
tune in in several weeks or soon.
Unless you were at like a crazy distance, your bullet wouldn't even drop. It would be like inconsequential.
Well, I mean, I guess the preview again is that like, just because something is, the more effective something is as like a combat strategy in real life, the less you should probably let somebody actually have it, like in a video game, right?
Yeah.
Like a situation where it's like, oh, I can kill you from really, really far away at absolutely no threat to myself. That's a great choice in real life, and it's like in a game. It's like, of course you're gonna do that if you can, but you just like can't let somebody do that. It's like why TF2 doesn't put assault rifles in, because assault rifles are just good. They're too good.
Well, but the sniper rifle in TF2 works perfect though, because there's just the maps. I think it's way easier for the spy to get behind the sniper. Whereas in Overwatch, like Widowmaker can Spider-Man to the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like at any time she can just launch herself into space to create a sight line too. There's like nothing you can do about it.
That's a whole conversation. But,
okay, fine.
I have one more I'm gonna drop. You get Conker's Bad Fur Day. Fun game. goofy game, ridiculous, just horrifying cartoon character slurring his speech and fighting giant poop and stuff like that.
I agree, man. He was really cute, but if they got rid of all that vulgar stuff, I feel like I would have liked it a lot more.
Yeah. Microsoft acquires Rare, and they're like, let's make a remake of Conquer. They take the art, they make the art better, and it looks like almost a little uglier in a way, but it works really well for it. I don't want to say uglier, more like realistic, but it's still very cartoony, and I think it looks really good for the game. They improve the controls, they improve a bunch of stuff, like a lot of really good like quality of life changes. Mm-hmm. And then they censor specifically the swears.
Wait, they actually did that?
Yes. Every single time they say any curse word higher on the tier list than like the word ass, which maybe even ass, it's just replaced with pretty much.
Dude, I was joking when I said that. I didn't think
yeah.
did it. That's
literally
ridiculous.
And the most baffling part to me is that like you've still got the flower with the giant titties. You've still got the scene with the cogs with the like very strongly implied rape. You've got like
whoa, my god.
You got the giant mountain of shit throwing poop at you. Like you've got all this terrible stuff in here, but the character can't say like bitch or shit or whatever. Like
so I actually can probably give well actually no, never mind.
Dude, here's my thought.
I thought I had a reason why that was, but I was wrong.
Here's my thought is because the original Conquer already has a rating, right?
Yeah, it was an M rating.
So I guarantee that because of that, they said like, well, you know, all you got to do is just like censor the stuff, and nobody actually played through the game to review the content again. So we're talking about an M rating based off of like, what year did Conquer originally come out? Like 2000 and what, 1 or 2 or whatever?
Yeah, probably around there.
Right. So we're talking about like that kind of cultural standard, as opposed to today, where if you had an implied rape in a motherfucking video game.
But that's the thing, is that the implied rape is still in the game, Mike. That's what I'm saying.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But he's saying that nobody
ever
went through
reviewed
it.
it.
It's easy to run a filter and like, you know, like over the script and see what's being said.
Like they wanted it to be like a little lower on the extreme scale.
Yeah,
but
exactly. So the easy thing to do is like, okay, well, just let's look at it all through all the audio files and listen to the bad words, and not actually play the game and watch what the fuck is happening.
If you have an M-rated game already, why do you need to censor it? Like, what's the point? It drives me nuts.
Was it still M-rated when it got released with the censor?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. Like, the game is super M-rated. Like, it's...
Maybe because they just realize kids are going to download it regardless of what it's rated. And they just don't want their parents to sit there and listen to fucking characters yelling fuck.
That's definitely, like... When there's a giant mountain of shit saying, I'm going to throw my at you, the parents are there like, oh, it's just this nice wholesome game. Like... It's fucking stupid. I don't understand why they did it.
Dude, that's the politics of the industry, you know? Like, just these mindless choices.
Oh, that's all of mine.
Mike, you got another one?
No. I can make one up, though.
All right, so
yeah, go ahead, make one up.
This is
I was actually serious.
I have more than one thing that I think that could be done to improve this one, but the easiest thing that you could easily do to make Monster Hunter World not the bastard child of the series to me is just put some better clothes in the damn game. Like, I played this game, I killed all the monsters once, I looked at all the outfits, I looked at all the weapons, and they're all just like so bland and boring. And it makes it so that you like don't really have anything that you want to work towards. And so you just gotta like lose interest.
That's interesting. I wouldn't have expected you to go for the like clothes specifically. I thought you would have gone for like the animations and like the monster design and stuff.
I mean, that's stuff that's a lot more subtle, and it's a lot hard to do well without like doing it. Because I don't want to be just saying like, oh, well, I really like it this way because I've spent like, you know, like 1,500 hours playing Monster Hunter with these very specific animations, you know? And, like, you could do, like, little subtle things to make the hammer feel better, like, make Big Bang follow through more, but, like, I think that, honestly, like, the biggest thing that contributed to me not wanting to continue playing and experimenting was seeing that there wasn't... because that's what you do in Monster Hunter. You go and you hunt the monsters so that you can have these cool new armor sets to fight cool new monsters. And like, if it's not exciting to get a new outfit or a new weapon, why am I going to do any of those things? Like, once I fought them all once, then I've experienced all the only content I care about, which is fighting the monsters, you know, just in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, I think that
nicer clothes.
I think that in a lot of games, having really nice clothing options can be a really big incentivizer.
This is true. Anybody who's
you're not gonna help me out at all. All right, so take Breath of the Wild, right? So you have all these cool DLC outfits. They give me all these great new outfits, but they don't let me dye them. Why am I even gonna use the outfit if I can't make it a different color?
I wouldn't even say the dyeing is the biggest issue.
You think the upgrading?
I think it's the upgrading. Yeah, I think it's the fact that none of them upgrade and all of them are extremely weak. And you get something like the Midna hat. I want to wear the Midna hat because I love Midna. And it defends against Guardians. And so I used it for a little while, but as soon as I got the Guardian armor, it's like, why the hell am I going to use anything besides the Guardian armor?
You're telling me that if you could dye the Nintendo Switch shirt, you wouldn't wear it?
Yeah. I'm telling you exactly that.
Honestly, that was...
Switch shirt is like one defense or something.
That was one thing that surprised me about Breath of the Wild. It's just that the items had stats. Like, for the first time in a Zelda game, as far as I remember. It's that... Because usually it's like, what can this thing do, rather than how strong is this thing, just objectively.
I also think, I guess if we're on the topic of customization, Ryan, I think you trapped yourself by mentioning Breath of the Wild, because I actually don't like a lot of the customization stuff with Breath of the Wild. For one thing, if I want to customize my character, and I like collecting all the different outfits and dyeing them and stuff like that. Why can't I save my outfits?
Oh, dude. The fact that you can't have like a saved outfit set or like 3 presets or like at least like a switch back to like my last set the last time I paused, just so like, I switched to my stealth suit and then switched back out. I totally agree that it's just a real oversight.
Yeah, it's definitely, I'm not happy about it. But I guess I always end up like switching to my clothing outfit like constantly. I mean, my climbing gear. Sorry, and then I switch back to my defense gear, and I really wish I just had a set of clothes that I tap it and it just puts me in those clothes.
Yeah, exactly. Like some sort of presets or like a set of 3 presets would be really useful. And you would use it a lot too, because you would never use the Lionel sets and stuff normally, but if you actually had like dumb little presets, maybe you'd be like, oh, time to put on my spooky outfit.
If I could modify the clothes in some way as well, that could probably be really interesting. I like the outfit set bonuses, but I think that they encourage you to just stick with the set and not actually like wear other stuff, you know?
Right.
Mix and match.
Well, and then since before we go too far off of Monster Hunter, I guess I'm not convinced one way or the other on this. So I guess give me your opinion. But do you think that Monster Hunter should have vanity slots?
Of course.
So vanity slots being equipment where you can have what you look like and what your stats are be separate.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So
it's a game that's modeled.
Go ahead, Mike.
I'm trying. It's a game that's modeled like an MMO. So why wouldn't you put in all the MMO features? Vanity slots being a huge one, because you're sitting there gathering all this random shit all the time. It'd be cool if I went into a shop and it was like, hey, some of this random shit you gathered, you can use to make a ribbon for your guy's hair, or like a badge that makes you look like a space marine on your shoulder or some shit.
Well, and so for Monster Hunter specifically, the reason and I guess you could make this argument for a lot of MMOs in the end, but it's like there's a big part of the game is like fashion hunting and accepting like combat losses to look a certain way. And like you'll see a guy come in like wearing nothing but a bath towel, and you're like, oh, that dude's a badass, because you know that he's got no stats on, right? And I do think that there's something that would be lost.
I've always been... I'm of the opinion that if you have vanity slots, they need to be somewhat limited. you can't just. I don't think you can. I don't think you can simply just let people vanity whatever outfit they want at any time.
Explain.
On any outfit they want.
Explain
I think
your reasoning.
So as an example, like if you went into Monster Hunter, or basically any MMO, and you find an outfit that you really like, I feel like you lose a lot of the incentive to collect and wear other outfits. Mm-hmm. And usually with games like these, a big part of it is like getting all these sets together and having all these cool little outfits and building upon them and stuff like that. So I don't think that vanity slots are a bad thing to have, but I think you should have to build to it, basically. Like, if there's an outfit that you really, really like, it should be like an ultimate goal.
When we say vanity slot, right, a vanity slot wouldn't be like a complete shirt. It would be like you could put a rose in your lapel or something like that. Or now there's a parrot on your shoulder or some shit like that.
Wait, am I thinking of something different?
No, I think, Mike, what are you thinking of, Mike?
Like,
Explain again. So a vanity slot is like, so you equip something in a different slot than you normally would, and the item that you equip there gives you no stats, but when people look at your character, it displays as though you equipped that other item.
But it overrides like your armor or whatever?
Yeah.
So like in truth, you're wearing like the iron helmet that gives you plus 10 defense, but it looks like the ribbon hat or something.
I'm more thinking of when you get like pets or something in an MMO, or you get like an item that puts a ribbon in your hair, or that like gives you like one
stuff that doesn't affect your stats or anything.
No, that's completely different. That's
that
completely different.
Because that way it doesn't really change like the outline of your character, so you can like still see what their gear they're wearing, but there's like a thing that's just unique to you.
Yeah, no, I'm saying like you're wearing full Rathalos mail, but it looks like you're wearing the Guildmarm suit.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah,
I mean,
also known as social slots.
If it's PvP, then that shouldn't be allowed. But if it's PvE, then yeah, go for it.
Well, and it's interesting because like what George was saying, like you do have a lot of fun. You know, like here's my really good water suit, here's my really good fire suit, and like you have to go and make each of them like look nice. But if you just had a vanity slot, you could just have your outfit you like, and then it didn't matter what you were wearing underneath. You wouldn't have to like go and collect things.
Yeah, and just as an example, like if I'm playing like an MMO and I'm like level 10 or something, and I have to work to get this armor together, and it's like this big scuba suit, and I'm like, I finally have this fucking sick-ass scuba suit. It's like my favorite thing ever.
Yeah.
Once I start leveling up, that scuba suit isn't going to be very good anymore. So now there's, even though I have to leave the scuba suit behind, which is very sad, I get to look forward and be like, there are new outfits for me to get. Mm-hmm. I want to try out these. I want to get these new outfits.
Right.
It further incentivizes it, I think.
I think.
But I think that vanity slots can be a good thing to like have as a later game thing that like you can build up to, basically.
I think the vanity should just be like a flare, something that adds onto your equipment or something, rather than totally changes its outline. Because then, yeah, it's like you said. Like,
well, I mean, we're talking about. I mean, games where like getting new items are the core of it, though, right? Like, so like I think vanity slots in like say Diablo 3 are a perfect addition, where you go and you collect a bunch of new items, and then you get excited when you find an item that looks new because you've added it to your like design repertoire or whatever. But like having a bunch of randomly generated items, it would be really annoying to have to randomly generate an item that had all the stats you wanted and also happened to look the way you wanted, you know? So like in that one, letting you dye your clothes and transmogrify them to look like other things. And there is a cost. Like to make something look like a legendary item, you have to use like a piece of a legendary item or something. But like in that one, it makes sense to me like that it's not limited at all, right? Because you're you can't even look at somebody and know exactly what they're doing unless they're just using the sets. And like that's also a big problem as well, is that there's so many people that would look exactly the same without vanity slots in a game like Diablo 3.
You know what game gives you customization? Animal Crossing. It comes out in March 20th. I'm very excited.
See, the best customization in Animal Crossing is when they let you choose your own face instead of giving you a random one.
Yeah, that's cool. I think that's a good change.
Can you make yourself like a
No, I made that up. They're not doing that. They're not doing that, George.
They are doing that.
Can you make yourself like a can you?
Yeah, they're letting you make your own face.
Can you make yourself like an animal? Can you make your own animal guy?
I wish you could. That's something I've wanted since the beginning.
How come they got rid of Blanca? What could have possibly happened that made them get rid of Blanca?
there were a lot of very problematic Blancas running around the world.
Just a bunch of Blancas.
Oh man.
Oh dear.
Wow.
Cut that. Cut that out.
Okay, I'll cut it out. I'll censor it. I'll censor it with barks.
No, that's gonna make it sound even worse. Don't do that. Like, what the hell did he say?
Yeah, Animal Crossing. I love that you can design your own outfits and stuff. I really just enjoy Animal Crossing. In general, if you can work towards customization instead of making it very easy, I think that's usually better. That's how I personally feel about it.
Like the level of like extra attachment you get to a character too, when like you do the simplest thing, like, oh yeah, I made my guy blue instead of the default color. It's like, now it's my guy. Like, now I love him.
Mm-hmm.
It takes so little.
Yeah, you know, it's the old classic thing.
I mean, a great example of that, like the amount of like just absolutely zero effort you can put into making customization happen, and it like adds like so much replayability to the game is Battle Block Theater.
Yeah, it's because that's a game where it's fun to constantly just change your face when you get tired of the one you have. Just something stupid like a chicken or something.
And all it is just a different like single frame drawing and a different color, and like it's still so fun.
No, I really like Pit Peoples too. Now that we're talking about it, because like you get these long swords or like these shields and stuff, and every category of weapon works on the most part exactly the same. Sometimes there are little variants, and so you open up your sword. You're like, I want to give this guy a light sword. You open up your like sword menu, and you got like 7 different types of light swords. But I'm like, okay, which one of these works with this big hot dog hat I'm wearing?
Oh, and you'll like. Well, and that's what's great, too, is because that's another argument, I guess, against vanity slots. I came in here expecting to be like, oh, yeah, vanity slots for all games all the time. But, like, that's not... It is fun to have the decision to try to take a hit to your stats.
Yeah, to build around, like, a stupid outfit you want to make.
Well, and, like, sometimes you'll find a new item that, like, doesn't work with your current team, and you'll just, like, change up your entire team, because you're just like, I really want to have this monkey with... I really want to have this gorilla with 2 hand grenades. How can I make this happen?
You know what game would be amazing if there were if there was a little bit of customization?
What's that?
Super Smash Brothers.
Oh man, it's almost... Dude, ripperoni for that.
Dude, oh man, when they added the customization to Smash 4, I was so excited. And then I started playing the game and I never got the customizations. I was playing forever, and they'd never give it to us. I think Ryan and I grinded through adventure mode like 1,000 times, and we got like maybe less than half of them. Like,
yeah, dude, that's another one that's perfect for the topic. Like, all they would have had to do is put in a system where you can't get duplicates, and so that you're always, because you like once you get about like half or 60%, like literally half or 60% of the time, you're just getting a duplicate. It's getting turned to coins, and coins are worthless.
All they needed to do was make the Wii U version at least kind of as good as the 3DS version, but they didn't. They made it strictly worse.
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, because you couldn't even play Smash Run, right?
Yeah, I had all the customizations for 3DS like within like a week or something. I never got them in the Wii U one. But in general, I'm even saying further than that. If there was, I don't know if it's feasible, but if there was a way to like pull out a character like Mario and be like, I want to change the color of his hat, and then I want to change his overalls to this, and I want to change his shirt to this. That'd be so cool. There'd be so many possibilities.
Well, dude, imagine if they, like, obviously they couldn't go as far, but imagine if they added something like, I guess like what Mike was saying with the other vanity items, where it's something like what they have in like Fire Emblem Awakening, or like essentially just like single accessories that you can go and stick onto people, onto the fighter. So just put like a little hat on Donkey Kong, or just like put something in their hand or something.
Yeah, if you threw like a little Mario hat on Donkey Kong, that'd be cute.
You put a sombrero on Ganondorf.
How are we looking here? We have anything more to talk about in terms of customization?
I had one last. It was just kind of like a... So I was having a conversation the other day with somebody who used to play a lot of League of Legends, and I was asking them why they stopped, and they were saying like... It was a really weird response. I got super thrown off. she says, "Oh well, because it's like you have to pay to get to any of the good parts of the game." And I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? Like you don't you don't pay for like stuff.
skins?
You just pay for like skins." And she's like, "Yeah, exactly. Like everything that like you actually like want to get in the game, you have to pay for." And
so she played the game just for the skins.
Well, essentially,
so she played the games just for the skins.
Yeah. Essentially, she's saying like, I see all these people playing the game and they have all these cool outfits, and like that's what I'm here for. Kind of the same reason I was playing Monster Hunter. Yeah.
It's so interesting, people's objectives.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that customization can definitely be like a really big incentive for players.
Well, and I guess so. A lot of people see it as harmless, essentially, where they're like, "Oh, well, I don't really like predatory monetization in games, but as long as it's just cosmetics, that's fine." And I wonder if it actually is fine. Like, I wonder how much a game like Fortnite or League of Legends, like how much these games are losing by not having more routes to earn the skins and only being able to buy them.
No, they completely agree with you, dude. Because in League now, you can get like resources by getting chests from getting better ranks and stuff. And so you'll get like a skin shard, and then it'll be like, okay, you can activate the skin shard and have the skin for a couple of days, or if you pay 900 like orange essence, it can become like a skin for you permanently. And then same deal, you got to get the orange essence by getting more shit and grinding and blah blah blah.
I don't know.
So I think they're right there with you.
I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. But to me, that's like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a funny way to say it. They're like just like the big cheese that's like fallen from grace, and they're coming back, and they're like, "Oh, we're being nicer now." And it's like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Now that you're struggling to stay relevant, I guess you would try to be nicer."
Well, for future companies, that'll give them a route of what to
do
from the beginning.
You know what customization was great when it started, and it's just gone down fucking hill. I would say TF2.
Oh, absolutely.
When TF2 was just introducing hats, getting a hat drop was like the coolest fucking experience, because it only happened I think once every like 10 to 20 hours or something like that. You'd get a hat and you'd be like, "Oh, it's got a bird on it."
Mm-hmm.
It's got a bird on it.
Well, I mean, you can.
Oh no! All those skins they added to it, I think, definitely make the game so like busy looking now.
Yeah,
like
no, they've gone overboard with it, and as a result,
the
like
crafting made it crazy.
Well, before, having a hat was like, "Oh man, look at this guy! This guy's a fucking king. He's got this nice hat here. Holy moly!" Like, most people didn't even have hats. Everyone's like, everyone has maybe one hat, and then they play a ton of that class because now they have a hat.
Before the Cheater's Lament came out, and like before they did like the rework for crafting and all that, the literal like I played like 300 or 400 hours of TF2, and all of my hats were things that I got from like promotional buys. That's it. I had like the Worms hat and like the Poker Night at the inventory hat.
Yeah, at the beginning there were some like promotional hats. I had the Max's Severed Head and stuff, and like.
You have to craft in the game to get like a bunch of the stuff. As
time has gone on,
at some point in the games.
As time has gone on, like around that time, it was like you see the person with the earbuds. It's like, that's the Mac guy. You see the person with the Max's Severed Head. That's the guy who pre-ordered Sam and Max. You see whoever, and you know they pre-ordered a thing. And there are like only a certain number of hats in circulation. So when you see a hat, you're like, "Oh, dude, I wish I had that hat, dude."
There were trades though.
Oh yeah. So, like, but it's kind of gotten to a point now where. Yeah, and they were uncommon enough that like everyone
they wanted to create a hat economy. That was the whole point from the start.
Yeah, of course. But like now it's so easy to get hats from like pre-orders or from like cross promotion. You can literally play like Max, the Sam and Max. The Max hat is one of the rarest hats in the fucking game. The Sam hat, all you have to do is buy Poker Night at the Inventory 2 for like $3 and beat Sam at a game of Texas Hold'em. And and it's just like, at this point, you look at a hat and somebody could be wearing like an entire, a whole ass giraffe on their head. I'm gonna be like, I don't even know if like they might have gone and like traded like a poker chip for that or something like that.
Yeah, dude.
Whereas before, having a hat was like, oh, that's the thing, that's the rare thing.
I don't even the rarity of it and the exclusivity of the hats doesn't even really bother me. It's the fact now that like someone will come running around a corner and it's a pyro, but like at first it's just like a demon with wings and there's like a pet flying around him in circles, and his hat has a thing that makes it like a rocket.
They're riding on like a camel or something. It's just
right. Yeah, their legs have been replaced with something weird, and it's like, and for just a split second, you're like, "What the fuck am I even looking at?"
They're like suddenly doing the Macarena. It's just.
And it just makes the game feel so fucking busy because all the time I'm just like, what the fuck is happening?
I agree, because they started adding more and more like outfit slots, because I think it was just hats at the start, and then they added I think multiple outfit slots, like 2 or 3 or something, and then now everyone's just dressed like clowns. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah, but I can't be mad at it though, because that game, how old is that game at this point? Like 15, 17 years or something like that?
Yeah, it's pretty old.
Old enough that it didn't get to be the top games of the decade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely would have been up there.
But yeah, it's just interesting. Shit, I had something and I forgot. You threw me off.
All right, how about this? Since we're talking about customization, we all agree that customization to some degree in your game is good, but what game embodies customization, like uses it the best?
Embodies customization?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
Well, like customization is the game and they do it the best.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it's a strange one to do a shout out, but Bethesda, my boys at Bethesda, they know how to make a character editor.
Do they?
They do, dude. I mean, look, like if their competition is like the Bloodborne character editor, then yeah, I think they do.
Okay, yeah, if they're competing with like the worst one, then yeah, sure, they win.
Okay, so I mean, you take a game like Skyrim, right? And you play, like, the combat is pretty poo-poo, and like the mechanics, they're kind of poo-poo, and the game is really buggy. And like, why is everybody playing this game? And the answer is because you open it up, you spend like 3.5 hours making your guy. You like have like all these different. I'm not even gonna say Skyrim on this one. I'm actually gonna say Oblivion, where they're even uglier. But you go and like you set up. I mean, essentially, like if you want to talk about the game, if you want to be for real, it's Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is the epitome of customization, right? But it's really hard to make Dungeons and Dragons into a video game.
Wait, are you saying customization in terms of like stats and stuff?
Game, though?
Well, in terms of everything, at its core, it's being able to represent yourself in the game, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Or express yourself is what I'm trying to say. Express yourself in the game.
So would it be like Mario Maker? Would it be like Little Big Planet or something shit like that?
Little Big Planet actually has thank you for reminding me. Little Big Planet actually has one of my favorite like character customizations.
Would it be like The Sims or like Sim City or something like that?
I think it's gonna have to be Little Big Planet. I made so many outfits and so many characters in Little Big Planet. It was the kind of thing where I made my own little guy, and I had so much enjoyment, derived so much enjoyment from just dressing up my little guy and giving him like my little shirt and my hair and stuff like that. That every world that I went to, I would like recreate my character to fit into that world. I would like make a new version of my character. It's sort of like some Kingdom Hearts shit where like Sora goes into like a game and turns into a toy or whatever. Is that kind of stuff. Oh, it's so enjoyable.
The fact that you're doing like Kingdom Hearts fan fiction in your own like world.
No, don't say it like that. That's not what it is.
It's kind of what it is.
No, I'm just drawing the similarity. It's nothing. There's no fan fiction going on.
Just saying, you're like
but with Little Big Planet,
my heart can exist in any universe.
With Little Big Planet, along with the fact that like there are so many different clothing slots for this little character, you got like the feet, the hands, the pants, the shirt, the head, the face, that kind of thing. But in addition, you also have stickers, and there are stickers of just plain colors and stuff, so you can just pretty much repaint anything in the game. And you can, like, make a series of stickers, and then you can take a photo of it, and you can use that as a sticker and put it on, like, a shirt as a t-shirt or something like that. It was so cool to be able to just customize characters in that way. I used to like recreate some of my own characters or characters that I really liked in fiction. In the Little Big Planet, it almost always worked like perfectly because there were so many customization options.
I love it.
What about you, Mike?
I was thinking about it, and for me, I'd have to say The Sims. Yeah, there's so many things when I sit down, when I sit and play that game. There's so many things I think like, oh, I wish they would do this. I wish they would do this. I wish they would do this.
There are a couple of. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Oh, that was it.
Well, it's interesting. I think there's two
there are a
types of
couple
people who. No, you blocked. I think there's two types of people who play The Sims, where you have the people who play it specifically for those elements, where they're like, I want to make lots of different characters with lots of different personalities and like see how they interact, and then like. Yeah. Like the people who will just like make a bunch of families and put them all over the place and then never actually play them. And then like I'll play The Sims like it's a game where I'll like make one guy and then I'll like put him in a house and then I'll like try to develop all of his skills and make him have like the highest rank career and like I know like I'll play it like it's a game like like Oblivion or something, you know, where it's like, oh, you know, this guy's going to be on the scientist career track. So my goals now are just to make him live a life dedicated to becoming the best at science. And I feel like that's why I lose interest in those games.
I only do that in the pursuit of like supporting like the story, right? So I'll make it so everybody on the same street like all lives up and down the same block, but each house has like their own like drama going on. Like one, it's like a set of brothers, and one's an evil genius, but the other's like an FBI agent or whatever. But neither knows. So
yeah, I always like the quirks and stuff in Sims. How you can just kind of
like. And he's banging like the guy down the wife's like or down the street's wife, and like their kid ends up being his kid.
What's the best?
So now the other guy has to go and take revenge.
Mike, what's the best Sims game to play if I wanted to get into some deep Sims?
Oh, there's only one good answer.
Yeah, Sims. I think The Sims 2 with all the expansions is probably the most fun Sims because there's like a million mods for it too. Sims 3 for the same reason because there's a billion mods. Sims 4 seems to be the most watered down version right now because they're still coming up with expansions for it.
Well, and they're like doing every single expansion like completely piecemeal at this point. Like things that used to be one expansion are split into like 4 different expansions. It's like ridiculous how they're nickel and diming everybody.
I wonder what kind of company would do something like that to people.
Dude, when that new game, Paralives or whatever comes out, that's supposed to be like the upgraded Sims. Like it's.
Oh yeah, that one looks good.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. I'll look that up later.
EA's gonna be feeling the heat, dude. That game looks really good.
You said it was called Paralives?
Paralives, yeah.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's like this. It's like The Sims, but you can customize like everything, and there's like. So
they got a great architecture editor. But yeah, so it's interesting because like, so you have like my sister. She used to play the game the way you did, Mike, where she'd like go and make a bunch of characters and have stories for them, and she'd like actually type in bios for the families and stuff. But then she'd go in and like every time she wanted to make like a rich family or something like that, she'd have to go and use cheats, and that's just that was just part of the game to her. It was just cheating to get the Sims to where she wanted because she didn't want to have to actually play the game, and. So it's weird because like you have this element.
She didn't want to play the game to the point where you're wealthy, because that's like a lot of hours.
Well, what I mean to say is that like playing what the game makes you do and like what it encourages you to do is not what she wants to do, and not what I think is the most fun part of the game, which is going and making characters and making families and having them do stories. So like, I guess how would you try to like make them encourage that part of the game more and like get rid of the grind towards being rich?
Like encourage. Wait. Let's not talk about the money then, because to get money in any game, you got to grind.
Well, but like, what do you mean? But why? Like, why do I have to grind to get money if in this? Because and I guess that's the thing is like it seems like the incentive is you start as a low level sim and you upgrade to a high level sim. I think they should be encouraging.
Why is there no sandbox mode? Is what you're saying? Well,
so I guess what I'm trying. I think the core game. So, like, one of the things that she'll do a lot is she'll, like, make, like, a bum and have, like, a bum walking around. And, like, my game would never end up with a bum because I would make a character and then I would train him out of bum status. But having a bum rocking around, yelling at birds and being crazy makes for a better story. So, like, what do you think could be done more in this? I feel like Sims should do more to encourage you to do things like that, to have a bum walking around and to have more interesting connections between people and not just have a bunch of people that are all at the highest level.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Because right now it's only intrinsic motivation.
But you could do
people
that.
Just do it because they like it. The game doesn't actually encourage them to.
Like you're saying, you want the game to incentivize you for like putting stuff in the game that isn't necessarily just like trying to get to the highest job level.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, so like for me, I didn't enjoy the game nearly as much as I could have. I think if I had been more encouraged to play like that instead of just making guy, playing him up to the top, and then getting bored.
Here's what I think. Because I think I'm getting on track with what you're saying here. I think, you know how you start a family and you get like that family's wealth, and then that's how all the money you have to build their house and start their life?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think they should add like a town treasury. And then every time you complete like a unique objective, money gets added to the town treasury. And now you can take that money and give it to a new family, or like add like a new like community center or whatever, and then you can build like a new property.
I think that's a good idea.
That's exactly the kind of thing that I'd want. Because so you do what I'm saying. You pay your dues and make your first guy, and you train him up to be Bruce Wayne, the billionaire philanthropist, and then you just use his war funds to pay for everything else you want to do.
Yeah, yeah, that would be that would make the game strictly better. I agree.
And I think that you could go even a little further than that. Like, well, because it's interesting to me, I guess, and I this is kind of a broader idea that's interesting to me about it, is you have so many games where, like, being able to make these little tweaks are, like, absolutely the most fun part of the game. And, like the reason that, like, Bethesda jumps to mind, even though they make such weird games, is because, in my experience, everybody I've ever seen sitting in one of these editors they go and they, like really, really, like, puzzle over, what race do I want to be? Like, how do I want to spend my time here? Tweaking, like, their eye distance and shit. Like, and it's weird to me that despite... And, like, games let you do those things, but they never encourage you to do those things.
Oh, dude. You know what would be a awesome way to put that into a game? You ever play that game, Prototype, where you're the dude and he, like, morphs into the Venom monster thing?
Yeah.
Right? Make a game like that where you have a complete customization for your guy, but then also complete customization for like the monster that he turns into, and the game would automatically like tween the animation.
That'd be cool.
Right?
Well,
wouldn't that be sick?
Possible.
Oh, dude, nowadays,
I mean, without going so scoped, that reminds me where I thought you were going with it, I guess, is one of my favorite, something you wouldn't really think of, but games that let you express yourself through like the actual way you're playing the game. So like Devil May Cry, the Devil May Cry reboot where he's got the short hair.
Wait, who's got the perfect example?
Yeah. But like, the Devil May Cry reboot, it's Devil May Cry in general is like the perfect series where it's like, I think the guy says in interviews, like he watched people playing and he saw that like, he was playing games at the arcade and people would be watching over his shoulders and he'd say like, it was really fun to like try to show off and do extra stylish moves and feel really cool in that way. And so the whole game is built around encouraging you to do that. And, like, I don't know. If it works so well for Devil May Cry, how come Animal Crossing doesn't encourage me more to make custom designs? I should get... All of the villagers should, like, pay me bells to wear my shirts.
They should
I should be able to open a small business.
That's one of the things I really want in the new one. I'm hoping to God it's there, is the ability to like open up my own little shops, even if I don't get money from them. I want to just be able to make a little store and like decorate it. Like that's all I want.
I love games like that.
It feels like the town hall from Happy Home Designer might be coming back. Like if you think about it, right? They already have Happy Home Designer. They already have revealed that you like go and you build everything from scratch. You put the town hall wherever you want.
Yeah, and
how
Happy
come I
Home
can't
Designer
decorate the inside of the town hall? It makes perfect sense.
Exactly. Happy Home Designer was fucking amazing about that, where they're like, here's a restaurant. Make a restaurant. It could be like pretty much any type of restaurant. And you just make a little restaurant and then they decorate it with little characters like acting like waiters and then characters eating and stuff like that. I made a little family style restaurant. It's actually, like my proudest achievement.
I'm going to retroactively go back and say that is the game. Happy Home Designer specifically is the king of customization game. Because that's literally, there's nothing else you do. All you do is you set up things and you enjoy it. Yeah. Like you enjoy looking at the things you made. That's
why I mentioned it in the last video is just like, it's as far as casual games go, there's no pressure in Happy Home Designer. You just make little houses. It's so great.
Oh, man. It can't come soon enough.
I took a villager I didn't like. I converted her house into a chicken fighting ring, right? And I could because the game's not stopping me. I have so much furnishing.
Oh, dude. I think the one thing that Happy Home Designer...
They were figures, but I think people thought they were real.
They knew.
What were we going to say, Ryan?
Yeah, which game?
Well, as much as I want to keep going, I think, unfortunately, I'm running out of time. I'm actually getting a confirmation right now. This is very exciting. Guy Fieri himself is going to be on the next week's podcast. He's going to be talking about his
Holy
Burger
shit.
Time
Oh,
reboot.
what?
Yeah.
Guy Fieri, hell yeah.
He's bringing
Finally,
Burger Time back, dude.
We got a
Finally.
caterer.
We're going to have the exclusive scoop here next week on Pillar of Salt.
Yeah, the new Guy Fieri game. I think it's called Guy Fieri Up in Flames.
And I'm hoping you bring something.
I don't think we were supposed to reveal that yet, dude. I think you might have just broken it.
It's NDA.
Oh man, I'm sure he'll be okay with it. It probably won't.
Yeah, he'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
He better bring something to eat. I'm tired of just eating crackers and bologna, George. You said there would ever be craft services.
I said there was going to be crackers and bologna. That's what I said. I said there's nothing allowed in this household except for crackers and bologna.
I didn't know you meant literally craft products.
But yeah, we just want to say
thank
you to Larry. Thank you to all of our other fans for tuning in. We really appreciate you.
Thank you to Guy Fieri for reaching out to us for this splendid opportunity.
And please tune in next week where we'll be talking about Breath of the Wild or something else. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I know Guy Fieri has a lot of opinions on that one.
It's true. It's true. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night. We love you.
Thank you. Bye.
Mike, you didn't say bye to the fans.
I did. I said bye.
I said bye. I said soft. Whisper.